Hey folks, David Stewart here. Hope you guys are having a good day. Sorry for the delays. Just had just quite a few technical issues tonight. Basically, you know, I've said this several times. Don't update OBS if it's working. Don't do it. You're tempted. You'll be tempted to do it. Don't do it. It'll break. Well, that's what happens, right? There's always causes my video card to. The video card driver goes haywire for some reason, and it's not like my hardware. There's zero other programs that have any problems on my computer. Everything runs flawlessly except for OBS. But you know what? It's free software, so there's only so much complaining I probably ought to allow myself. You know. So anyway, I appreciate everybody. There's like a little loop here for my mic. Let's fix that. Can we fix it? There we go. There we go. Now it's gone. Now it's gone. Okay. We're going to play some games today. There was something I wanted to show y'all. Yes, the thumbnail was AI generated using Midjourney. I use Midjourney for lots of little things like memes and stuff like that. I've used it for like backgrounds. You can use it for like backgrounds and stuff for book cover design. You could design an entire book cover with AI. I've showed how to do it. Usually, in most cases, you're going to have to still do some photo bashing. You're going to have to like combine different images, just like you would if you were using stock photos. You know, but yeah, you could totally do it. I use it for stuff like thumbnails, things like that. It makes it really easy to come up with a thumbnail versus trying to spend time in Photoshop or find like the perfect stock photo to do something with. So I really like being able to use that. I don't know, there's always controversy around it. We'll see how those things shake out. In the long run, I think most people don't really care about AI art as long as you're using it in a somewhat... I don't know what the word is. Like you're not using it in a non-artistic. You're not trying to replace actual art with it, right? Like this is a video thumbnail, and what would I do with the video? I'm not hiring an artist to make a video thumbnail, right? I would just use a stock photo or a random photo that I took off the internet without permission or something. That's what most people do. So you know, there really shouldn't be any controversy about that or using it for memes and things like that. I get people having controversy about it over, I don't know, you know, someone charges you, like someone hires me to do a book cover, like paint a book cover, and I just have an AI do it. That's kind of dishonest, right? It's like the person could have just made an AI image for free. They don't need to pay you $400 for your magical prompts. That's the other thing is people thinking that like there's some sort of magic to their prompts. They have the magical insider touch to know exactly how to do the image prompts to get exact. It's like, no, it's not. You know, an idiot can operate this software. That's what's so good about it, actually, is that like, you know, a completely unartistic person can create usable images with it. You know, so yeah, that was a fun one. I think I typed in like, I don't know, it was just like hooded guy playing guitar in a doom metal band, and then I had a bunch of list of bands, and then it you know, picked from those and made that image. It was pretty good. Like Sun, Candlemass, and games like that. Okay, let me see if I can find this. Because I think this is really fun to look at. All right. Well, I've got no camera for some reason. So that's fun. It can't detect my camera anymore. Always good times. Maybe it was like my camera that went bad. Maybe my camera is actually causing it to crash. That would be fun. Okay. Well, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to I'm going to stream without a camera tonight. We're doing no camera today. So anyway, I wanted to show you a Twitter thread of basically political cartoons and stuff from around 9/11. And I find this very historically fascinating because there's just so much that I think is interesting about the attitude and the time. So if you want to understand like Generation Y, this is definitely going to be like one of the ways to do that. So if you weren't alive for 9/11, or you were maybe really young and you don't really remember it, like I think this is the big crossover between kids born in the 80s and kids born in the 90s. Is kids born in the 80s lived their full childhood before 9/11 and before the internet. So they have really firm and meaningful memories of what life was like prior to the September 11th, 2001 attacks. Now, I didn't want to talk about this on September 11th because, I don't want to come off as being overly dour or, making light of something that was really bad. But some of these cartoons are really cringe. And so looking through the lens, I think looking at these is able to look through a lens of the way especially baby boomers thought at the time when these attacks happened. There is a certain attitude and response and confusion that exists because of that. So let's take a look at a couple of these. So one of these is this cartoon here. Like, this is a rather something about political cartoons. Like, there's always this messy cross-hatching. There's just a style to political cartoons that's weird, that kind of got set in the 90s and 2000s and has never moved on. This is Mike Lukovich, or Lukovid, I'm not sure. But this is a very weird image, isn't it? Like, when you look at this image, it's like the Statue of Liberty with big eyes crying as planes fly into it, right? And I remember this happening. I remember a friend called me on my home phone. I didn't own a cell phone. 2001, not everyone owned a cell phone. And he's like, you should turn on the news. So I turned on the news on my 13-inch CRT TV with the little pull button. Click! Turned it on, waited for it to warm up, and then you could see the image. And there was just one that was on fire, and then I saw the second plane hit. It was really weird. So I had gone to the top of the Twin Towers less than a year beforehand. So yeah, it's a very surreal thing. So let's take a look at some of these cartoons. Who posted this? This guy, Keek here did. I guess he does this every year. So it's a really good, valuable thing to stop and look at these and see some of the response of what was going on, because people didn't know how to respond. What do you call it when you kill innocent men, women, and children? A holy war. Like, is this supposed to be funny? Like, what's the response here? Is this actually supposed to be a funny thing? Or is it supposed to be like anti-funny? It's hard to know because of the format. It's a cartoon. It's posted as a joke. There's a building that's collapsed where a bunch of people died, and then you have a really obvious response. It's hard to know. Here's a couple too. Uh-oh, he's getting up, and he don't look none too happy. This one's also weird because America likes to think of itself as a sleeping giant. I don't know, maybe in history class you've heard something like this before. America, the sleeping giant. And Pearl Harbor attacks woke the sleeping giant. So immediately people were drawing a connection between 9/11 and Pearl Harbor. 9/11, a terrorist attack, versus Pearl Harbor, which was a deliberate act of government and an act of war. So they wanted to cast it as an act of war almost immediately. Now, what I find funny about this is, like, America, the sleeping giant, like 2 years prior to this, America had kind of unilaterally bombed Kosovo and engaged in, this was what Ron Paul wanted to impeach Clinton on was war crimes because of the war in Kosovo. It's not like the 90s had no wars. We think of the 90s as this extended period of peace and prosperity, and domestically it was. In 2001, it was like, well, actually, bad things could happen on American soil. But it's not like America was a sleeping giant. America has been asserting itself on the world stage militarily almost nonstop for 100 years, more than 100 years at this point. But by 2001, for almost 100 years. Hardly a sleeping giant. You know what I mean? But people love this image. They love the image of this peaceful America being woken up by an attack, rather than a military hegemon who'd been asserting its will through military action for decades and decades since World War II, which is closer to the reality. And that's not to say anything bad about my country, but we just have to be real about it. We call it the Department of Defense, but it doesn't do a whole lot of defending. Rather, it does a whole lot of military action off of U.S. soil. Zimbabwe says, I was born in 89, got the full experience of the 90s. I remember pre-9/11 well enough. Yeah, you'd be like 12, you know? So you'd have like some memory. Like I have a memory of the 80s. I was born in 83. But like I don't have a firm memory of the 80s, like what the culture of the 80s felt like, because I was too young. Like I remember a lot of things about the 80s, but I remember the 90s better. But after that, you know, if you were born like in 95, you don't really have a memory of what life was like before 9/11. It's just not really there. You're not going to remember that you used to be able to just like walk through the airport to a plane, you know. You used to be able to buy a ticket like at the counter where you could get on a plane if you wanted to, you know. It was crazy. It's very interesting to see you interviewed by Dave, the distributist, years ago. Always cool to see you overlap with content creators. So cool. Born in 86, sophomore in high school in first period geometry class when the planes hit. I was in college at that point. Social studies. Teacher came in and turned on the TV, said this is one of the most important moments for us. Yeah. 96 had pretty much no memory of 9/11. Yeah. And so that's the thing, is like if you were born in the 90s, you have a digital childhood, let's say. A digital childhood. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to say that that's bad, you know, but it's a different experience than if you grew up without cell phones, for instance. You know, I still didn't have a cell phone when 9/11 happened. This one's kind of interesting, you know. It's like, how do I I have to do something to respond to 9/11 as a political cartoonist, so I guess I'll do this. You know, people didn't really know how to respond. We just didn't really know what to say afterwards. Anytime, anywhere, terrorism. I'm not sure what this is supposed to mean either, right? Stuart Carlson. Holy War, Bin Laden. Okay, he's a devil. Like, this is a pretty obvious like piece of propaganda here. It's like, okay, I got to draw something. Let's make the bad guy the devil. You know, it's very easy. Most political cartoonists have always been bad, but this is an example of how they were pretty atrocious. Band of Brothers. Ordinary Americans, Extraordinary Courage, the police and firefighters of New York City. So this isn't a comic. This is just like, well, I got to do something that, is about this event and cues to the feelings that people have about it or ought to have about it. So we're going to pump up the first responders, many of whom died, by the way. So we'll pump that up instead of trying to like make a joke at someone's expense. I mean, honestly, if I were a political cartoonist, I probably would have done something closer to this than something else, because like this isn't a comic. Like, it'd be better to just not do a comic at all. But this doesn't really do anything that's offensive or it's propagandistic. I mean, it's propaganda, but it's not so heavy. This is another one too. We've reached the top. Now this is an interesting one, because these are like, they're showing first responders who died, pearly gates. Both of these kind of cue to this idea of like where the American spirit is going to go. It went in two directions. We were very confused after this. One direction was, how should I put it? Like venerating heroes. and the other direction is revenge. So this is the venerating heroes part, and then we're going to start getting into like more of the revenge stuff. Now this one is really strange. America's hour of needing each other. To think I always hated cops. To think I always hassled blacks. Like 9/11 stopped racism. This one is bizarre. I don't know how anyone can look at this comic seriously in 2023. I have no idea what he was thinking. John Slade here. But he's like, I have to make a comic. We'll make it about racism. You know what I mean? I will always remember where I was on 9/11 because for every year until I graduated, I was asked by my teachers to write where I was on 9/11. Like it was Tuesday morning. I was in school. Where else would I be? Yeah, that's, I went to class and then class was canceled and I went and bought the new Slayer record that came out that day. Like I remember certain things only because they happened on a day that had a big event on it. It's like a Slayer album came out that day. It was called God Hates Us All. And it had a censored cover because the real cover was like the Bible covered in blood. This is cueing to like, so this is like, I'm not sure what area of propaganda this is. Okay, maybe can we be done with racism? And this one's like, all right, I'm sharpening my claws. This is the revenge response. Okay, we need revenge. We need to venerate heroes. We're going to do revenge. Now this one, I don't even know what to say about, right? Like you have this, always these pictures of George W. Bush looking super dopey, and then like the Rooks being destroyed. Like I'm not sure what the message is here, or why it exists, but it's kind of tone deaf. Like this is definitely what I would call like an extremely tone deaf comic. Like what are you thinking? It's like, do you think George W. Bush caused these? Do you think he's stupid because this happened? Like what's the message here? Or are you just like, well, I draw George W. Bush looking stupid every week, so I'll do it again this week, I guess. You know what I mean? In retrospect, I think it was ridiculous to think the U.S. was an underdog. Oh, devil face in the smoke meme. I don't remember that coming out till way later, but maybe you're right. The Obama in the smoke thing. Or not Obama. Osama bin Laden. Let's see here. Okay, this is more like revenge stuff. Uncle Sam, like crushing rats that are terrorism. Like, you guys are worthless vermin and we're going to squish you to death, right? So that response of like, okay, well, we must take revenge. We have to take revenge here. And they're going to be running and we're so much bigger and stronger than them. And I can't believe that they'd be stupid enough to do this. Well, they killed themselves doing it. So obviously the act did not, they weren't thinking about the act as in a fearful way, right? They're like, well, I'm going to die doing this. There's obviously more to it than that. But you put it in terms that people will understand. It's like, what if, Guatemala attacked the United States? It'd be like, well, that would be stupid of them. Yeah, it would. But for terrorist suicide bombing, it's not about countries having conflict with each other. It's not about conflict between states, like what you usually do in, quote, social studies class. All right, still standing. This is another one, it's just, we're still together. I find it interesting to think about 9/11 because if it were to happen today, if a building in New York were to get destroyed, I think you'd have a lot of people just feel no desire to help the people of New York at all. Because the people of New York hate them. The people of New York hate such a wide swath of America. They just wouldn't, there'd be no charitable action from the middle of America, the most charitable people. If something like this were to happen in New York again, they would just be like, nah, you guys can deal with that because you're not even us anymore. Terrorism. King Kong Part 2. I'm not sure what this is supposed to... Oh, this is the Filipino reporter. I'm not sure what he's showing there. What? The infidel pig dogs have frozen my Visa card. Allah will crush them. Here, try my American Express. I don't know what's going on here, right? Like, oh, we froze all the bank accounts of Al Qaeda. I remember something like that afterwards. It's like, we froze these bank accounts. It's like, oh no. People committing suicide for their beliefs have their bank accounts frozen. And looking at things like, you know, that they would have this reaction like, oh no, the Americans have frozen my bank account. I don't know, it's weird. It's so weird. Like, some of the responses to this. As FDR said, a day that will live in infamy. Remember, he also said we have nothing to fear but fear itself. It's like a weird little piece of propaganda there, right? Kind of queuing stuff up to World War II by referencing FDR. Terrorism, the root of all evil is money. Let's take an opportunity to make an anti-money statement. I'm not sure what they're trying to say here. All right, the eagle and the poor pathetic terrorists. You know, Taliban, Osama, recipe for disaster. I guess, you know, more like we got to go get him. More revenge stuff. We're gonna crush him. We're gonna destroy him. This doesn't really have a message other than like, you know, bad thing happened. So you probably already feel bad about it. Just a reminder, bad thing happened. Many people forget that there was a post-attack paranoia that was really intense for a couple of weeks. People were talking more attacks, Russia, etc. Yeah, that, again, people didn't know how to respond. They're like, is there going to be more? Is this the beginning of a war? It was, but, you know, in a different layer there. You know what I mean? Mr. LDH6, the Patriot Act was passed 45 days after 9/11. Can you think of that? A month and a half later. And can't find any information if anything was written for it prior to 9/11. Was an act that has upended the U.S. really made in less than a month? It's crazy to think about. It was one of those things that was probably passed without reading. Just like how all the Democrats voted to go to war. And then later kind of backed out on that. Another suicide bomber. Welcome to paradise. So we're just kind of poking at these, you know, their beliefs about, like, they go to paradise if they're a martyr. Like suicide bombing will make you become a martyr in a holy war. We're kind of like an ideological attack on what we view as the enemy. I'm not sure anyone would do this today because they don't believe in the devil. Like, you have to believe. 2001 people were still religious enough that they could understand basic, and they would respond to basic things like they're going to hell and there's the devil, and like the devil's having sex with Saddam Hussein or something, you know? The enemy 1941, the enemy 2001, blurry target. But yeah, the Patriot Act, this was huge, and we knew it was really awful at the time, but it happened anyway. And that's it, you know. Fort Benning, I went to school about 20 minutes from Fort Benning, Georgia. I lived there when I was a baby, when my dad was stationed there. So everyone was so paranoid about it coming to the community. Yeah. These are immense cringe, immense saccharine. Yeah. This one is very, like, cringy saccharine, like the plane, because there was a plane that they, you know, they were trying to crash it into something, and the people on the plane took it over. I'm trying to remember what the flight number was, and they crashed the plane so it didn't crash into any buildings. And so, like, these stories had emerged after the fact. You know, there was a lot of stuff. The root of all evil one, a prompt to the question of where the terrorists get their funding. Yeah, but where did, like, they got their funding from, like, the Saudi state. And we knew that really quickly, but no one ever talked about it afterwards because it became, you know, we wanted to use the Saudis to position ourselves to attack Iraq again. I hate to use the word our government. Pandora, who is Pandora? It's trying to open Pandora's box on, like, a worldwide war, I guess. Again, this is more like they're going to feel really sorry when we take revenge. This was a really, really common response. Was like, we need to do something to harm the people who harmed us. Again, this is just a bad thing happened. Let's remember it, because I have a political cartoon to do every week, and I can't just do something funny or poking fun or attacking my political enemies and drawing them as idiots. So we'll do this. Same thing with this one. We have brought him to his knees. And he's like praying or something, right? Again, I don't think you would do this in 2023 because this symbol of kneeling has a completely different context and meaning now. This would be like protesting the flag. People kneeled for the flag in the NFL. You know what I mean? People kneeled to protest things, not because they were praying. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of interesting how if I were to show this to a modern kid, he might have a very different response or understanding of this than someone who was looking at this the week after 9/11 happened. I noticed these like shadowy evil figures with their evil eyes. These evil people that, you know, keep in mind that people actually did 9/11 were all dead, right? But there was supposedly boss perpetrators who put people up to it, and we wanted to go get them. And yeah, that's what it was. Hey, Betsy, here's an order for another 1,000,000 flags. This is a good one. This is Betsy Ross signing flags. This is like patriotic response. Now, this, to me, could be funny, right? Far enough away from the event where we're like, oh, yeah, everybody started buying little American flags because of a sudden surge in feeling to need to be part of a national identity. So we bought flags. But this, right after 9/11, this is very weird sentiment. It's like it's good that people are buying flags, not that it's silly, not that they're sheep. You know what I mean? So like, depending on when you were to do this, because this came out right after 9/11, there's no satire to this. But if you were to do it in 2008 and like put something that's like another, another bombing or something, and we need more flags, it would be like a satire of it. The colors, it's red today. Oh, they had color codes for danger levels: plaid, orange, purple. Yeah, they had really weird colors. It was like an orange alert or blue alert or something. I remember those. Those were so ridiculous, and none of them ever pointed towards any event ever happening. It was really weird. This one, the again, another Pearly Gates one, like the towers are going to heaven. I think we should really make an exception. These angels are saying to each other about objects entering heaven, like the two towers. I'll trade you 2 Michael Jordans and a Barry Bonds for 1 New York fireman. This is another Venerate the Heroes one. A lot of these were here. Like, this is not really funny, but you need to do something that week, so you're going to do Venerate the Heroes. Venerate the Heroes and Revenge apparently are the 2 big themes. Praise Allah. By attacking America, we are guaranteed entrance to heaven. Hey, wait a minute. Hey, it's the same comic we just saw. Welcome to hell. Yeah, these guys think they're going to heaven, but they're really going to hell. Of course, in 2023 America, this wouldn't make a lot of sense because people have lost a lot of their religious sentiment about it. And the people who are very religious would be like, I wouldn't make this because I simply don't know all of what God's plan here is. Or there's another one. Osama bin Laden takes off his turban. He's drawn with having a turban, but we go to like the forms that make sense to us, and he's really the devil. He's really the devil with a pitchfork. Interesting set of themes here. No, not a 9 yet. Globalization. I'm not sure what this one was trying to say. I think I'm missing some of the context here. Like, these look like a bunch of communist countries. Here's the plan. I won't wear any disguise. We'll have every other man in Afghanistan dress up to look like me. Clever, brilliant. When do we start? They all look the same. This is like just straight up racist. It's really funny, actually. It's like, oh, they all look the same. All the Arab and all the Muslim, they're not even Arabs. Like, Afghanis are not Arabs. But, all the Afghanis and the Arabs all look the same. Anybody who's a Muslim and has a beard looks the same as everybody else. Like, this is just straight up racist. It's really funny. Like, this would get you canceled today. Daryl Cagle That's Slate.com. This is a Slate.com cartoon with this like very obvious racism. How quickly things change from 9/11 condemnation to terrorism being part and parcel of city life. Yeah, that's weird. If you see something, say something. Still big in New York City. Islamofascism. That was the term. They just had to. They're like, how do we describe this thing in terms of bad thing bad that people already know? It's like, let's go with fascism. Islamo-Nazism. Yes, I'm sure they're National Socialists. German Workers' Party. Terrorist attacks. U.S. intelligence services. They were sleeping. Okay, so this one is an actual political cartoon finally, right? Who are they attacking? They're attacking the U.S. intelligence services who were sleeping on the job, who weren't aware of all this terror stuff happening. The weeks that followed afterwards, you can think of it like the 5 stages of grief. First, there's denial. Then there's, Denial. What are the orders? Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance, right? So this is like the anger part of it. It's like we're angry about it. We have to take revenge. Someone has to be responsible. We already saw this one. This one says, I love you. It's the cell phone of somebody calling. There was like all these little stories that emerged afterwards. Like somebody called her husband like on the morning and then she died later. Here's the firefighters going all the way up to heaven. Same theme, venerate the heroes. Remember this sad thing. Like, I don't know. I just feel like as a political cartoonist, if I were working at the time, it'd be better to just not draw a comic. I want to go back to the old America. You can't get there from here. Isn't that true? Like, this one is actually kind of relevant. Like, you can't go back to it because the government fundamentally shifted everything about what it does and expanded itself like a billionfold afterwards. You can't go back to the 90s. The world that you were raised to exist in the world you were raised to live in no longer exists. It was destroyed long ago. That's Gen Y. I'll link my Gen Y book. Immediately after 9/11, the sentiment was we can never go back to the way things used to be. This was the inflection point into our glorious future. And what they really meant by that was like, you can't just go back to living free. You can't just go back to having a free and peaceful existence. From now on, you're going to be subject to every surveillance known to man. You're going to have a cavity search before you get on a plane. And the government will know anything and everything about you from here on out. Do you or anyone else remember the anti-drug commercials that blamed 9/11 on drugs? I don't quite remember these. I wasn't watching TV by that time. I stopped watching TV in the 90s. The argument is your money you used to buy drugs resulted in butterfly effect resulting in 9/11. Actually, I do remember this. There was a commercial. Someone was buying drugs. The drugs were grown in Afghanistan, in the poppy fields. And so your drugs were funding terrorism. Now, buying drugs actually does fund terrorism, but probably terrorism in other countries, like, what you might consider civil conflicts and terrorism in Central America. Hey, did any of you guys read the last chapter of this book, Japan and World War II? Another revenge fantasy here on display. Hey, we're gonna bomb them. We're gonna nuke them. Like, this is almost psychotic to look at now. It's like, the response was we're gonna nuke the foreigners. We're gonna nuke people. We're gonna drop atomic bombs on Afghanistan. I mean, that we're in the anger response of grief at this point. But it's almost like almost psychotic looking at it. It's wild. Digging a bunker, Sam? No, your grave. More revenge fantasy. I know how to fight in the dark. Justice in Afghanistan. More, we're going to get revenge. Perhaps we should start launching more appropriate vehicles, Secretary Powell. Finally, we have another political one. They're like little diplomacy, Dr. Seuss thing. Maybe we ought to actually kill them all instead of just having diplomacy. Maybe we should just drop bombs on the foreigners. Drop bombs on the enemy. And you have to think at this point, there's a lot of confusion after 9/11, including who the enemy was. So the first thing that happened was part of that anger response. You had to cook up the enemy. It's not that Osama bin Laden wasn't an enemy or wasn't a bad guy, but you needed to define, you had to cut out and define the enemy and then set up a means by which you could gain revenge and attack him. And that was Afghanistan. That was the Taliban. And so there was lots of propaganda about how bad the Taliban was after this and how they, we needed to get the Taliban out of power. They didn't let girls go to school and you're not allowed to be homosexual. It's kind of what it came down to, which is weird now. That's like a weird thing to think of for most people. Like, we did all this for that, One thing is clear, whether we want to or not, all of us have joined the front lines in the war against terrorism. And this is can't we all feel like we're together in one kind of thing? Let's all kumbaya because of the bad thing that happened. Called from a plane bathroom and told the entire let's roll narrative before cell phones could be used on planes. Well, you could always... Someone just walked through my front yard. Hold on a second. Oh, it's my neighbor. She's chasing her dog. Neighbor's chasing her dog. Yeah, humor is often offensive. This is like trying to not be offensive and not do humor. It's like anti-humor. Heard you were doing some major reprioritizing. What's got into you? September 11th. Me in the trash can. Patriotism, spirituality. This one's good. Because the exact opposite happened. Selfishness exploded in the decades after 9/11. Patriotism got flushed down the toilet. And spirituality got nuked. Yeah, this is a really funny one. Maybe there was this response of, people doing, this is the bargaining response, like 5 stages of grief. We get through anger. We're now at bargaining. What's the bargaining? Okay, well, now I should, maybe if we were more focused on the country and on God, this wouldn't have happened. That's bargaining. Usually you have that after someone dies. Oh, if only I had done this or that person wouldn't have died. Especially if they die because of some kind of accident or they die like from suicide or an illness. Oh, if only I had done something differently. That's bargaining. Man, country music radio was wild from 01 to 04. All those patriotic songs, hearing them now is quite surreal. The only thing I remember making fun of them was like South Park. Where were you when they shot down the towers? That kind of stuff. Proud to be an American. Like, I find it really cringy, but that's the response people had. People felt like they had to do something in response to that. People became police. I remember the singer for Iced Earth became a police officer. Matt Barlow. That was really weird. That's a weird response, People either joined the military. People joined the military. It took a couple years for like the anti-war stuff to get rolling on universities. It took a few years. Which I thought was pretty interesting. And to think bin Laden was in Pakistan the whole time. But I'm not sure where he was. So I'm going to tell you one conspiracy theory that I think is very plausible, which is that the U.S. military never killed Osama bin Laden. There's no actual evidence that they did so. They didn't take photographs. Most of the people involved in that were killed shortly afterwards in a helicopter crash. The number of people that would be in on a fake kill Osama bin Laden, they killed him and dumped his body in the ocean. The number of people had to be involved in that is so small, you could actually pull that off. It would have been very easy to pull off a fake assassination of Osama bin Laden. Fake assassination. America's faith, America's national pride. The other Twin Towers. Seen this before. Everybody, this is the kind of the bargaining stage here. We're moving into bargaining. If only we had more faith, more pride, but that hasn't harmed our faith and our pride. It kind of did over the long run. The media slowly eroded that too. Donkeys and elephants together. Hey, we're putting aside our differences. That lasted a little while, and then the Democrats pinned the wars on the Republicans and became anti-war campaigners, but never ended the wars, right? Like, Obama was elected and nothing changed, right? The U.S. sent us a powdery substance in the mail. Is it anthrax? I think it's our military. Bombing continues. Anger, revenge. All avenging parties safely returning, sir. It's an eagle and a plane. A little cringy. Very propagandistic. Needle in a haystack. This one is more like, hey, we're never going to find him. And it's true. It took over a decade. War. What is it good for? Afghanistan is a giant cheese full of holes and a mousetrap catching bin Laden. I don't know what they're trying to say here. Standing up to terrorism. Small steps to victory. So I guess they're saying the way to stand up to terrorism is to keep doing normal stuff, right? Is that it? I'm not sure where they are here, with these chairs. Are they on a train or a plane? This is not what plane seats look like, right? It's like they traced the chair. I don't know what they're doing with this one. It's like, keep doing what you're doing and don't be afraid. This is a political message, right? Not really like a cartoon. Some assembly required. Homeland Security instructions. That's actually not a bad one. That's a pretty good one. The ROI on Mujahideen was pretty bad. Like a cool $2 trillion in the red. See, we spent $2 trillion and the lives of 2 generations of men. And the Taliban gets to keep Afghanistan. Fighting terrorism abroad and at home. This was the next kind of propagandistic push that happened at the end of 2001, which was telling people to buy stuff. It's like, what you need to do is buy stuff. And there's a legitimate thing here, is like the economy was headed into a recession as a result of 9/11. Because of, this idea, this is basically, Keynesian economics. Like, you have to spend money or the economy will collapse, because it's all about that circular flow. The velocity of money is everything. I know most of you guys probably don't know about money velocity theories and things like that. But the GDP is just a measure of how much total money has changed hands in a year. It's not a measure of wealth creation. It's not even really a measure of economic activity, because if you make yourself a kitchen table, no money changes hands, but you're richer. If you mow your own lawn and don't pay a gardener, that's worse for the economy than paying a gardener, because you're not paying someone. You're spending less money. You're saving labor. So GDP as an economic, tool is very limited. But that was the first thing that happened, is like, oh, guys, you can't be afraid. Nothing to fear but fear itself. Go out there and spend as much money as you can. Shop till you drop. You're going to support our troops by spending money. How weird this kind of propaganda push was. This isn't even like attempting to make a point, really. It's just telling you to do something. It's just reinforcing the government propaganda of the time. Mayday. Oh, yeah, here's the terrorist with, the box cutter, right? And then payday, we're going to do revenge. So another revenge one. But this was a really typical response. Like, we have to do something. Or, we're going to bomb them and they're going to feel bad. It's like, yeah, I bet, people will suffer because you will bomb them. Oh, Osama, it's time for you to come out and be a martyr. And he's hiding in a cave. Let's get even. Let's find some Arab Americans. Let's terrorize them. Let's harass them. This is now this is a funny one. Let's turn against our fellow citizens. Let's view each other with fear and suspicion. Let's do precisely what I wanted you to do. Right, do precisely what you wanted us to. Like this one is also very silly because normal people did not think this. This is a caricature. Like this is an early version of, people on Twitter imagine a person they don't like and then have attack that person that they imagined. And that person's not real. And so that's exactly what this is. Like normal people didn't do this or think like this. But there was a really obvious thing when it comes to race where it's like, I'm getting cavity searched. Like my 87-year-old grandma, white grandma, is getting cavity searched. While, Akeem just gets passed through because the RNG didn't make him stop. Well, Akeem wasn't a terrorist either, but certainly the 87-year-old Lutheran grandma was not a terrorist, right? Like there was such a rebellion against the obvious reality of things. This idea that the terrorists wanted you to view each other, like the terrorists had this grand conspiracy to make you harass Arabs. Like they wanted you to harass Arabs. They didn't want you to do that. Turn against our fellow citizens. This is where the divide happens, right? Like obviously those are our fellow citizens. Like the Arabs wanted you to have the government take away your freedoms. I don't think they were thinking that way. Do you know what I mean? So this is an interesting one. USA food drop. Oh, we started dropping food in Afghanistan. So this is a weird thing that happened with all of the military stuff following 9/11. Was like it was part humanitarian, part blowing things up. So he would drop food. It was like food aid. Well, we have to help the poor people oppressed by the Taliban while we attack the Taliban. So you have to do both. It's very funny, This one does have have a certain humor to it, even though it's, this is another one, We'll get angry, we'll get even. I guess this is all the government agencies fighting each other. A little weird. I don't think they're fighting each other at all now. The Statue of Liberty lighting dynamite to blow up Bin Laden. Pretty cringy, but yeah, more of the we'll get our revenge. Say, didn't you have mountains here before? Yeah, we blew up all of your mountains. More of the same stuff. Oh, I have to turn my head. A book without an ending. The War on Terrorism, Chapter 1. Boy, was this one predictive. This one goes pretty hard. A couple people after the first, month, 2 months, were able to put a rational head on their shoulders and be like, there is no end to this. You can't have a war on an idea, guys. There's no victory in sight. We're going to be doing this forever. And it was like 20 years. A book without an ending. This is, more Venerate Heroes stuff. So we see a couple themes looking at most of these. There's a part 2. Isn't Bush doing a great job? Shut up, Tipper. Oh, this is Al Gore. This one's actually a cartoon. We see we're going to get our revenge. So that's the anger part. We have the Venerate the Heroes, which I guess is, I don't know. It's not, denial, but it's maybe bargaining, The bargaining stuff is faith. If we only had more faith and let's all be patriotic and buy flags, that's bargaining. I'd say the veneration stuff's kind of like denial of what's going on. We don't know how else to respond. So it's well, at least these people are heroes, and that's good. That's fine. In satire, if satire were snowballs and tall hats were targets. Here he comes. Editorial cartoonist. We can't make fun of Bush. He's not fair game because we're at war. Yeah, you guys are really all of these other cartoons were just carrying water for the U.S. government. Faith-based plan. This is actually nothing to do with the war on terror for once. Him erasing the divide between church and state. I'd say there's no divide between church and state. Rather, the state's occupied by a hostile religion that I call the death cult. You know, really a collection of cults that are misanthropic and in rebellion against reality, too. Oh, how are we going to get to Afghanistan? We have to cross this strange bridge called Pakistan. Interesting. World War II, war on terrorism. That's poignant. We don't really know what we're doing. It's interesting that people knew even back in 2001 how confusing all of it was, but there was such an impetus. People had such an impetus to want to act at this time. Yeah, the Democrats are the bigger war hawks again. They were always big war hawks. They've always been the biggest ones. You guys got to remember, like, all of the military stuff that Bill Clinton did in the 90s. It all got swept under the rug. Like, it didn't matter. He, like, unilaterally started a war to distract people from the fact that he was getting his D-est in the Oval Office. Hunter S. Thompson nailed that in an ESPN article written the night of 9/11. I gotta dig that one up. 100% even predicted he would be off for it. Perhaps the last legitimate journalist. Wow. Yeah, so this one actually nails it. So even back then, people knew it. And if you read like the papers on Afghanistan, it's clear that the leadership had no idea what they were doing. There was no clear objective. There was no idea of who the actual enemy was. The American people were told the Taliban were, but who the enemy was shifted week by week sometimes. Who you were fighting. You might be fighting person A this week, and then person A was on your side the next week. You were fighting person B who you were hanging out with the week before. People start to wake up. They are making cartoons about this is a problem. We can't just have our conventional attacks here. Box cutter. Weapons of war, right? That's a French one. Weapons of war. Wheat. The war on terrorism. I guess this is the food drop one, right? America's selective memory. This is evoking like Vietnam bad. A lot of the images you see of Vietnam bad are not indicative of the full weight and what was happening in the conflict. And in this corner, we don't know. That's a good one. Exit. What exit? It's true. There's no exit strategy. You don't know what you're doing. Did the bombing last night hit your house? It's hard to tell. Ain't that truth? They're starting to like get back to being actual cartoons as time goes on. It's kind of interesting. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? It's the media war on terrorism. Yeah. U.S. economy. I want you to shop. It's just Keynesian propaganda. I'm not going to fly anymore. I'm pulling out of the stock market. I'm staying home and locking my doors. That way the terrorists won't have a chance to take my freedoms away. Let's actually think about that for a second, right? Because I flew December of 2001. I flew from Texas to Fresno, California. And it took so long to get home. My dad dropped me off at the airport in El Paso, Texas. And I flew to Phoenix, and then I flew to Fresno. I got to Fresno. I had to get to a gig that night. That's why I flew. I get my guitars together. My buddy picked me up from the airport. Who pulls up in the driveway as I'm loading my stuff up? But my dad. He had driven from El Paso to Fresno in the time it took for me to fly. Because security was so bad. It took 2.5 hours to get through security. You had to go through it in 2 different airports. You have like a 3-hour layover at any airport because they were doing like double security stuff to make sure nobody did any more terrorist stuff. It was the worst experience. I refused to fly again for years after that. I think it was years before I was willing to fly again. And it had definitely gotten better, but now people are like, man, I hate flying. I don't want to stand in line for 2 hours, right? Flying is a miserable experience. They took your freedom away by destroying what was a really super convenient form of transportation. It's still more convenient than driving for most people, but the fact that I could drive from Texas to Central California in the same time it took to fly says a lot, when I was moving back out here, I think one of the times I drove back out here, I drove from Modesto, or really rural California near Modesto, all the way to New Mexico. And then I slept. And then I drove all the way to Houston the next day. Still, it's less convenient than flying, but I had a lot of stuff to haul. Arms are for hugging, not killing. Want to draw straws to see who gets to cut his arms off? War protesters bad. Tell the infidels we demand an end to the corrupting influence of Western capitalistic materialism. Oh, and find out what happened with our airline stock options. Our terror attacks are working. Americans are hunkered down. They're afraid to travel. Wary of public spaces. Scared to venture out. What cowards. I don't know if this was the motivation. Like, this gets cast as the motivation because it was, politically expedient. It's part of the propaganda narrative at that time. Bin Laden, haven't seen him. Like, they didn't want people to feel afraid. Like, that's part of the word terrorism. It's like they wanted people to like feel afraid enough of more bad things happening that the political action changed. It wasn't about you and me. It was about the United States government. Terrorism really is not about the everyday person. Rather, the everyday person is attacked because they're the soft target for getting political action achieved. That's why terrorism is viewed so bad, is because the targets are civilians. They're not the government. It's harming the civilians to try to get the government to change. I think we're in a snake pit. Iraq, Pakistan, have people starting to wake up to this. Not going to be that easy. Nation building. I'll get to a game here in a minute. I've been doing this way too long. I just realized I've been doing this for an hour, so we'll play some games and have something cheery to talk about before we go. But I think it's a really good way to view a lot of the stuff that happened around this time. And to get a really good bead, I'll link this if you guys want. Gets a really good bead on the way people thought at this time and how people were kind of forced to react, how everybody was supposed to react, and how everybody was supposed to think after the attacks. This one is like, this looks like the guy who bombed the Oklahoma City building. I don't want that Arab-looking guy on our plane. Isn't it great how this crisis brought us all together? Like, are they wrong, though? Frankly, I can't think of a bigger threat to America than the assault on our civil liberties. Yeah, give up your freedoms, guys. It takes a little longer to get to Disney World, but the kids will love it. I don't get this, but now that I'm 60 years old, I'm at the front. "60 years old. We're all New Yorkers." Yeah, this wouldn't happen today. Blacks, whites, no more racism. We keep seeing like the same things drawn over and over again. Are things back to normal? I think maybe normal is going to be different from now on. He's looking at the plane. Remembering the fallen. What's next? Revenge. Starting to sense a subtle bias. Don't be racist. That's called women's rights. We're going to bomb you and we're going to take over so that gay people can do what they want. When girls can go to school. What a weird, motivation that people had back then. Very strange. I definitely remember the media and government telling everyone to go out and buy stuff to stimulate the economy in the mid-2000s. That was true. Kind of wild learning about this for me since 9/11 happened when I was 2 or 3. Yeah, it's a different, if you weren't there, this gives you a really good window into what like what people were thinking and what their reactions were like, and how you were told to react. You were told to react a certain way. That's really what these cartoons are all about. Is they're telling you to react a certain way. They're saying, hey, you need to feel this way. Okay, this happened. Feel this way. We want to go to war, so you should feel like you need revenge. We want to do something else. You know, we want money, so you need to spend money. We want you to do these things. We want you to feel these things. We want you to feel like we're all New Yorkers and that you have a brotherhood with the people of New York. Now, I don't think that would fly. I don't think any of this stuff would work. We're too splintered now. Way too splintered. I spent way too much time doing that, but I just thought it was so interesting. And I love you guys' comments because it like puts a lot of things in perspective for me too. The government probably wanted everyone to forget how they gave funding to bin Laden's group during the Soviet-Afghan war. Rambo 3 was dedicated to Osama bin Laden and the Mujahideen of Afghanistan, the brave Mujahideen warriors. I'm surprised people forgot the nightmare of the Soviet-Afghan war, which only finished like a decade prior. Why did people think it would go better for us? Because they weren't thinking. The whole point of these cartoons was to get people to not think. It was to tell people to think certain things so that they would avoid critical thinking. And you can see as time goes on, the critical thinking starts to percolate back in. People start to question what's going on. And then a couple years later, there's a strong political division between people sticking to the original plan and people who start to realize it was all bunk. And go back and read it 20 years later, even the people who were, especially the people who were veterans, are like, man, I can't believe how stupid our leadership was sometimes. You know what I mean? The revenge comics are ironic now considering the terrorists ended up winning in the end. I don't know if they ended up winning. I don't think that, because we don't really have continued terrorism. I don't think the terrorists won, but I don't think we won. We didn't do what we wanted to do. We didn't transform the world the way we wanted to. That was a naive sentiment. I wouldn't say the terrorists won at all. I would say that the U.S. military leadership really didn't know what it was trying to win at all. There was nothing to win. You can't win against an idea. You know? It's wild to think about. The Patriot Act was probably already ready to go. I don't know. Either that or they wrote it really quick. It was just a laundry list of their favorite things that they could do. Like, okay, we'll monitor everyone. It just like we'll put everything on the table here. Where's my monitor? We talk about it more as we play this game a little bit. I've barely played any games lately. I would have played some music today, but I hurt my index finger of my left hand. Like I got something under the nail, like a shard of metal or something, and it really hurt. And I practiced yesterday, and I shouldn't have done that. Now it really hurts today. Here we go. I don't want a Larian account. I should hit the don't ask me. I don't want to buy now. There we go. Yeah, go out and buy stuff to stimulate the economy is actually really terrible economic advice. Like the economy doesn't work that way. And that doesn't create economic prosperity at all. Like that is not from whence economic prosperity comes, is people buying things. That's kind of focusing on what we call velocity of money, which is how fast money changes hands. You have $100. If I have $100, I buy $100 worth of goods and services. That next person takes that $100 that, I gave to him for goods and services and spends it on goods and services. And there's this idea that everybody spending money creates an economy. But what economic activity really is, in a positive sense, is people getting things that they want, people growing their wealth, getting stuff, getting services they want, getting things that they want to have. So if everybody makes the stuff they need, that's economic growth. If people trade for the stuff they need, that's economic growth. GDP focuses on the trade part as if that's what matters most. But in truth, it doesn't really matter. I think we get to go out this way. We're trying to go to the goblin camp, right? Oh, search the cellar. I thought I already found it. I thought I already searched the cellar. No? Search the cellar. Oh, I thought I found it. But the quest is still there. Alright, let's go back to the cellar, I guess?
Here goes nothing.
I got Baldur's Gate 3 myself. I learned an easy way to avoid getting hit on the male characters. Only recruit women. Band of princesses like Final Fantasy V. Alright. So, there's something I'm supposed to find in here. But what is it? Is it in the wooden desk? An ink pot and a quill. Doesn't look like it. A stack of books. Is it in there? Nope. How do I highlight stuff? Row of books. Stack of books. Quill. I could pick up the quill. Open crate. Some garbage clothes. Stack of books. Stack of books. Bottle rack. Bottle rack.
Might be useful.
Pick up the bottle. Don't do anything. Glass distillation set. Can't be added to inventory.
What's in here?
Maybe there's something else I'm supposed to click. Walking around here. I got the stuff out of the chest. Bed linen. Large bottle. Like this. Like that. Ink pot and quill. Yeah, we're gonna use our money to buy Chinese stuff anyway. A lever. Aha! That's what we were looking for. Okay. Let's go check out this cellar. Looks like there's a wiener mushroom here. Bone cap. I don't really like highlight stuff I can click. There's a bone cap. There it is. Alright. I don't think I've been in here. New area. Bullywig trumpet. Oh, they autosaved me. Something is going to attack me. A moldering casket. Ah, what's in the moldering casket? These are some coffins? Scroll of Summon Quasit. I'll take that. What's in this moldering? Oh, it's a zombie. Alright. Commence battle. You are surprised. Oh, he's rezzing all the dead. Fun. Alright. He's rezzing the dead here too. Fun. Okay. Okay. How do we want to do this? We have some, like, friends. Vicious mockery. Laughter. Let's, crowd control that guy. Can I
feet.
I think I could probably knock that guy in. Let me give you this. If I have something good here. Protect an ally. Protection from evil and good. Alright. Then surge. And then we'll go and maybe main hand attack, rush. And get the bullywig trumpet. Right.
Unleash me.
Okay, let's see. Let's see if I can. Let's move over here.
Look to Queen 6.
And Thunder Wave. Oh, he didn't go in the pit. Shoot. Can I knock the guy in? Alright. Oh, did that kill him? Or did it knock him down? Here, actually, let's close the autosave. We'll do like a short rest or something. What's your opinion on other YouTube reviewers? I don't watch them, so I don't have an opinion. I usually don't find a lot of value in most YouTube reviews because I don't watch movies anymore. And yeah. What are we going to do here? Short rest.
Just a brief respite.
Alright, here we go. No. Can I just attack this? There he is. Alright. Let's see here.
Swords meet sorcery.
Grease. Ray of Frost, Magic Missile. Didn't quite kill him, but
Victory awaits. No time to waste.
let's shoot him. Alright, I killed him. By the way, how'd you end up dealing with the Grove problem? TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome. It's a real thing. Like, I think it's like a real, I think it's a real mental disorder. Arrow of Ilfamar. That's interesting. It's a single-use melee thing. Let's see if I can. Let's give that to.
Ready and willing.
So he can give that to Gale. Yeah. Oh, he can't consume it, unfortunately.
All right. What now?
Let's see what this A is for Azuth and other gods. Azuth, the god of wizards all, who spend their whole lives learning. He grants their spells both big and small, for Mistra always yearning. Bane the tyrant, the black hand, make sure the strong do rule. He spreads his darkness through the land, praised by the harsh and cruel. Bathsheba will bring forth your doom unless you chant her prayer. Split from Timora in the womb, she brings bad luck to spare. Yeah, I hope you're all doing good. I used to watch Angry Joe. Yeah, TDS. Am I wrong to think that what was once a parody of D&D players being sex-obsessed losers became the reality? Yeah, it did kind of become the reality. Isn't that weird?
I'll take that.
Survival failed, huh? A candle.
Let's have a look.
Dirt mound. Something in the dirt mound. Ooh, a wooden chest. He didn't summon all the bad guys. I should reload so he'll summon the bad guys, right? Oh, there you go, robust guardian.
Of course.
Let's, there he goes. Good times have I all.
No time to rest.
There we go.
My path be true.
A critical miss. It's always fun.
Come on. Can't stay idle. Don't waste a step.
Let's finish this. Time to meet your maker.
A tale for the ages.
Let's see. What can I hit him with? Magic missile. There we go.
Let's get going. Shouldn't have made me your enemy.
Another robust guardian.
Can't slow down.
Time to strike. Make way.
Just do a melee attack.
Got to focus. Have to keep going.
There we go.
The witching hour. May it please, Mistra.
Oh, he can't see him. Shoot. Alright.
Time to press ahead.
Swift and lethal. Need to stay focused.
Alright, we got him for sure. This comment makes me think of David's review of Wheel of Time. Yeah, racial diversity is now like anything can happen, you know? It's not for any real reason. Like, that's the excuse. It's like, well, anything can happen in fantasy. It's like, not really. You know? Part of what makes a world seem alive and real is that it's internally consistent. He's like summoning skeletons over there. Something. Alright.
On the move.
Oh, I forgot to loot that. Oh well.
A rough tempest I will raise. Good move.
Can't give up.
Let's see.
On the
Heal
move.
him. Oh, we're out of yeah, we're out of heals. We can turn undead. Dancing lights. Firebolt. Yeah. Go over
Best
there.
be on my way.
He's coming up there. Probably put like a grease trap down. What's he doing? He's just like flapping this open. Modern fictions abandon the idea of internal consistency, and I don't understand why that attitude has become so prevalent. It's because people are lazy.
No bloom, all doom.
Ready. Have to keep going.
These boots have seen everything.
Oh, Gale died. Arrow of ill matter downed. What's he doing? Like flapping this open again. Is it narcissism? Yeah, I think it's narcissism and laziness. Is why people don't really deal with this stuff correctly.
I'm exhausted. Better find somewhere to camp soon.
Well, can I help him up? Longbow. Encumbered. Condition. Can't control. Downed. Alright.
What's next, I wonder?
Alright, you got 1 HP. Pretty sure we could just like take a long rest right now. Or
Still
Darylov could do
alive.
the...
So that's progress.
Song of Rest. There we go. That'll do for now. Forgetting to loot stuff.
What's hiding here?
Ah. There's a dark journal. Let's read the dark journal. Read. Let's see, what's this? I pay no service to the gods, but by some blessing this village believes me and my apprentice to be simple healers. My tattoos are hidden, my red robes locked away, and my lab secured. I have not heard the word they since we arrived, and only my apprentice knows me as Ilm Thoth. This place is not ideal for my research, but I can never return home. Not the way I escaped. I'd be put to death with worse to follow. The work here is simple and allows me to continue my research at night, but progress is slow. Reanimation seems easy, but restoring life? That prize eludes me. The tome contains the magic I need, but it fights me at every step, as does my apprentice. At least my familiar has made it easy to secure bodies without raising suspicion. This will take time. Will the Zulkirs find me before I can bring her back? I cannot say, but if they do come for me, they'll have to face the guardians I've raised. Ooh. J. Find, where is it? Search the cellar. Obsessed with a particular book. Already took this. Does this guy have anything on him? Got another robust guardian.
On my way.
Still on my feet.
Oh. Forgot I'm encumbered. Alright. What does he keep doing with this casket? Is he trying to, like, bring someone out of it? Why is it flapping open? I don't understand what he's doing. Any chance you'd make a how-to video re CFW and the 3DS? I could do that. Yeah. Oh, I totally forgot to link something, guys. If you're interested in... let me find it here. Yeah, guys, if you're interested in my music, I have another channel that's going to be just music. Just ambient rock. It's the ambient rock channel. I'll have all my albums on it soon enough, I guess.
Swiftly now.
40%.
Victory awaits. On the move.
So check that out. I'll play some music for you. There we go. There we go. Robust Guardian.
No traps, please.
And Robust Guardian and Agile Guardian. Moldering Casket. Nothing in it. Another Guardian. Oh my. An offhand attack.
The lance board is set.
Hit him with my staff.
I am fury. I am death.
Here we go. Alright. Weave moss.
More for me.
Grab some of that. I think I need to take a long rest here.
Light on my feet.
Let's do a... Let me do a long rest here. Yeah, so I'll have all the albums up on there soon, and like everything ordered properly.
What's inside?
There's already like, I don't know, 13 videos up there. Wait, is this my stash? Can I like put stuff in the stash? Alright, perfect. I'll put like books and stuff. Or simple jerkin. Journals in here. This stuff. We really should sell this stuff. Have a few extra things. You know, like a war pick. I don't need a war pick. I want this goblin thing. Oh, we have a few extra items. Throw in there. Alright, what time is it? Might be getting close to me to actually have to pack it up here. Actually, I'm going to get something to drink. I will take a short break. Here's how I'm going to do this. Let's see if I can get this working here. Boom. I can just play this. Boop, boop, boop. Is this it? No. Let's do... That's one I recorded this one last night. I hurt my fingers doing it. What's a good one? No one's watched this one yet. Here you go. Free performance. Did this at like 5 in the morning because I've been up all night with my kids. And I'll be right back. Okay, there we go. Some interesting looping going on here. A little fun. Alright, we'll pause you for later. I'm going to call that Dark Roomba. What's that Roomba pattern? It's an 8/8. Little 8/8 pattern. You do a lot with like just a few ideas. Can go really a long way. Have I murdered a cute squirrel yet in Baldur's Gate 3? I have not. I don't think these guys... this guy has something to say to me.
Seems like a good moment to talk.
Morning. I hope last night's little unpleasantness hasn't left a bad taste in your... Well, I hope there are no bad feelings.
Oh, I dropped my guitar pick.
Oh, I have no idea. By rights, I should be cinders in this light, but someone or something is keeping me alive. Standing in the sun, wading through a river, wandering into homes without an invitation. They're all perfectly mundane activities now. As for my other quirks, well, we can figure those out.
Oh, thank you for the super chat. Be interested to hear your thoughts on indie versus AAA games. Indie games are seen as saving the industry, but honestly, they're just as woke and derivative as AAA games, minus the monetization. The thing is, you're right, but indie games have the potential to not be that, whereas AAA games almost don't have the potential to do that. So yeah, I mean, indie games have the potential to do new gameplay and new ideas, whereas AAA games are, at this point, basically iterating on the gameplay things that were sort of set in stone around the year 2007. You haven't really seen a lot of new stuff since then.
That's my theory, but who knows? I'm just glad you're being sensible about these revelations. I was worried people might turn up with torches and pitchforks.
Culture is downstream of law. Government tells HR what they must
So
do
we're traveling
and
with a vampire,
what
are
you
we?
get. I think that's true.
Of course we are. Word of warning, Astarion. I taste absolutely awful.
For his sake, he best not develop an appetite for Githyanki.
He's not wrong. We're bound together, no matter.
I feel like
what
keeping him
happens.
around. I don't feel
You
like
say all the right
killing him.
words, but I'm not so sure you mean the right things. Still, I will respect the decision that was made.
There now. We're all friends again. Shall we go? There's a long day ahead of us.
All right, let's see what Gale has to say. He's gonna want to suck some magic out of something. Looking at a girl. I mean, a body bee person. Ah, Mistra, the matron of magic herself, an ambitious desire indeed to hold her in your hands.
Oh. My, you startled me. It's miles away. No special reason, really. I was just practicing an incantation.
Insight. Got it.
What can I say? She's Mistra. I can't quite describe it. The need I sometimes feel to see her, to draw the filaments of fantasy.
So someone
into
asked.
existence. No
I'll
sculpture or painting
I'll
could
expand a
ever
little
do
bit
her
more on the
justice.
AAA versus indie thing
Only
in
the
a second.
fabric that she herself is.
Someone asked if I was using pedals
embodies
or software. It's all software.
The weave.
And I
Mistra
use
is all magic.
basically an Ableton push to
As far as I'm
control
concerned,
everything.
she's all creation.
So it's like a looper from hell, you know, like looper on steroids. Doesn't even describe like what's possible to do with it. I'm working up towards, because like I have to master the software, I have to master the hardware, like of using Ableton to its full potential. I recorded 2 albums on Ableton, but I haven't used it to really do a lot of live improvisational performance, which is what I would really love to do with it, because every single time I can get out a guitar can be something fresh. I love improvisation. I spent a lot of time playing jazz years ago, so I'd love to bring more of that experience into what I do musically, besides like making these more ambient rock, instrumental rock pieces where the improvisation's there, but it's not at the forefront. You know, I'm not developing the piece on the fly. I'm like contemplating everything I'm doing for the most part. Anyway, so yeah, it's all software. Ableton Live is the software I use. Indie games versus AAA games. Yeah, the big difference between indie and AAA is that indie games are, I would say indie games are more often than not bad, to be honest. Like most of them are bad. But we remember a couple of really good ones because they broke the mold and they did things that were really special and really fun. Something like Super Meat Boy. You know, people remember Super Meat Boy was made by 2 dudes who just made it, and it was like one of the best platformers ever made. So depending on the scale of your project, an indie game could be potentially one of the best of its genre of all time. That's amazing. Whereas AAA games, you can generally expect them to have, at this point, pretty good graphics, but to be very iterative on gameplay. They're never going to be the best in a gameplay area that you've ever played at this point, because they're just copying the gameplay of what's successful beforehand. Everything when you get to the corporate level is about risk management and like managing corporate bureaucracy. So you just don't have the potential that indie games have for breaking the mold. The problem with indie games is that most of gaming is driven by wanting novel experiences, especially graphical performance. And indie games just don't have the budget to do that now. Right now. They can still produce good-looking games depending on how their approach goes, but they're not going to be producing something that looks even as good as this. They're not going to make a Final Fantasy 16 level graphical experience. That requires just too many resources. Even then, the corpos just hire a bunch of other little extra studios out of China and stuff to do a lot of work for them anyway. It's really, it's kind of unfortunate, but I don't want to say, just play indie games. Just play indie games. Play older games are good. Find indie games which are good and play those. And you can play AAA games too if you know they're good. But don't buy a game just because it's part of the Assassin's Creed franchise. That's my point. There's nothing wrong with if you like Assassin's Creed games, but if you haven't liked them in a while, like there's no reason to keep buying them. She is all creation.
Magic is my life. I've been in touch with the Weave for as long as I can remember.
That's my cat.
He's
He's deaf. That's why he screams like that.
Music, poetry, physical beauty.
He saw me do
all
something
rolled
and
into
he's like,
one
I
and given
want you to pet
expression
me.
Through the senses. Is it the same for you? Fair enough. Though in the end we're still playing the same composition. Perhaps I can show you what I mean by reaching into the Weave together. Then follow my lead.
Uh-oh, what are we going to do here? I hope it's not gay. Actually, Larian Software is a really good example of like some of the dynamics we're talking about. And same thing with CD Projekt Red. CD Projekt Red started almost like as an indie, right? And it grows to be what we would consider a AAA game developer. Go play Witcher 1, which was made using BioWare's Aurora engine, and then compare it to like Cyberpunk 2077, and you can see that growth happening. But as the growth happens, the problems with the corporate bureaucracy start to get hold of the company and start to politicize what they're doing, and all the little problems that we talk about with AAA games start to creep in. Imitate the gesture with ease. Oh, I could do performance or bard. Apparently, the
Often
devs admitted the
if you
companions were bugged,
like a
which resulted
kind
in them
word
coming
and a
on so
kind
strong and
touch
so
at the
fast.
same time.
They're working on it.
It's
Interesting.
warm and comfortable.
Excellent. Now, repeat after me. Athran Mistraril Kantrak Eo.
An easy incantation. Simply repeat after Gale. Belt the words out. Oh, I got a roll. Awesome. We can't lose this roll, actually. Look at that.
Ah, yes. The scent of rosewater and a sense of well-being. A sliver of weave that tastes sweet on the tongue.
Very good. Now, I want you to picture in your mind the concept of harmony, as true as you can.
It seems like indie games and the ones being pushed to the forefront are filled with wannabe scriptwriters who would rather be making movies or TV shows rather than games. I think that's true of AAA as well. You know, I agree that that's probably true as AAA as well. I've experienced that a lot. I've done some work in the gaming industry, not really credited, more, I guess, editorial. And that's a common thing. People have a story they want to tell, but they don't really know how to do it yet because they haven't worked in another medium that's focused on storytelling. And my usual response is like, the gameplay is what really matters. Like, the story just, it's something that pieces the set pieces together first and foremost. And if you're not doing that, then it doesn't really matter what else you're doing with the story. We'll do the Bard. The Bard option. Larian games were pretty much free of woke until this game. Yeah.
Is it sense the unmistakable presence of Mystra, the Lady of Mysteries?
As I'm looking,
There's something like the anticipation of a kiss, then the pleasure of being cloaked.
Oh, it is
peace.
gay. No.
You are safe. You are nestled in the cup of Mystra's hand.
That's a very gay look they're giving each other.
You did it! You're channeling the weave. How does it feel?
Magical, sensual even.
You're hard to please, aren't you?
The weave
as I continue to work on my novel, one thing I'm not looking forward to is having to learn how to market. So, hold on to the moment. It's a good night for intimacy. You're in no mood to be so close to Gale. Release your grasp on the weave.
The weave evaporates, and as it does so, you realize the night feels suddenly cold and lonesome.
Yeah, so marketing, there's a lot of stuff to talk about with marketing.
There it goes.
Talk about forever. But
how easily things slip
if you're
away
writing a
from us,
book, it's
no matter how hard they were.
a lot of people are like, how do I market this
Good
book
night.
I wrote?
I enjoyed sharing a moment of magic with you.
When really it should be like, what book does the market want me to write? And if you write that, then you don't really have to market the book at all. Which is cool. Does anyone else want to talk to me? I don't think so. Let's go to bed.
Cursed to put my hands on everything.
Wait, hold on. What is she doing? Oh, she's trying to open that little object.
I wasn't expecting it, but I'm glad to have some company on this journey.
Your account is signed in elsewhere. My son must have taken the Steam Deck with him.
There's no story. None that you're entitled to hear, anyway. Just forget you ever saw it. Must we? No harm in a little mystery, don't you think? Easier's often less interesting. Besides, we've plenty of reason to rely on each other already. You can't confide in just anyone about a monster in your head. sweet of you, but don't worry. I'm sure you'll get to know me just fine by traveling together. No need for interrogations just yet.
Dodged a bullet there with Gale. It's okay. I like Gale, but not that way. You know. Telling you, just see who's hired. I'm convinced games 20 years ago were dominated by dudes, but that's since changed. Oh yeah, yeah, that's true.
Thank you. I'm sure we'll get along perfectly well.
Neat. All right, let's go to bed. I think we can auto select stuff, and then full rest. Hello, cat. You've been hiding out in here, waiting to get in my lap. Very clever of you. Very clever indeed. Alright, how do I break camp? I just like... Alright, here. Alright. You're a bard, right? Imagine I'm married to my music character. Alright.
Something good here. I hope.
Nope, nothing good. Sorry, bucko. Sorry.
Looks empty.
But it's not. There's bottles in it. I'm looking at bottles that are in it. Anything else? An ornate mirror.
Speak your name.
Speak your name. Oh. I could do a drow one. I'm Shadow Merodin.
I see you were shaped by darkness, not light. You are not Ilintoth. If you are his ally, step forward and declare it. Only a true ally of Ilintoth may pass. What think you of the Zolkir known as Zastan?
Save failed. History.
You are no Zolkir, but are you wise? Tell me, why might one use balsam ointment? Acceptable, finally. If you could see anything in me, what would it be?
Nothing good tends to come of ambition in stories like this. I would see you free.
This is my purpose. I know nothing else, but you cared to ask.
Halo CE through Reach,
No
pure
others
dork
ever
males.
did. Thank you. Be welcome.
Alright. Press P to view. Inspirational events. When a character performs an action that's true to their background, they gain experience points and receive inspiration. Inspiration may be spent to re-roll an ability check. Oh. You can have a maximum of 4 inspiration. If you're at your maximum inspiration, completing background goals only grants experience. Okay. Cheese your way through. Talk your way past the bandits and enter the chapel. Alright, we tricked the magic mirror. Let's go in here.
A well-guarded laboratory. What were they hiding down here?
Ooh, there's the book over there. Necromancy of They. Wonder if there's any more things here. Fringe Philosophy. Scroll of Featherfall. Let's grab that. Moonhaven Logbook. Pages of Observations. Oliver Singe, merchant. Departs next day. Kalashite. Oh, what's going on there? Oh, I took that. Let's read it. Where is it? Shoot. My bags are too full. There it is. Read. Reanimating dead flesh. Alright. Okay. Basilisk oil. That looks like it'd be useful. Research notes. Raised dead. Failed. Gone too long. Body decomposed. Reanimation. Failed. Came back as ghoul. Had to kill again. Speak with dead. Failed. Answers unhelpful. Clone. Failed. Needs living tissue. Reanimation plus clone. Failed. Had to kill both ghouls. Resurrection. Failed. Why? Magical curse? True resurrection. I have reached the limit of my skills and resources. The book offers help. Dare I accept? No. Alright. Now I know it's over in here. Like that brazier.
Step carefully. There's a trap.
Disarm it. I failed the disarm. Roll again. I can't believe I failed that. All right. Well, didn't need that. Gotta hop off to work on my novel. All right, God bless you, Adrian. I know the pitch down voice is a common thing, but I'd love to hear more experimental colors and voice effects. Yeah. Let's lockpick it.
Carefully. There's a trap.
Another trap. All right. Oh, lock
Bet
it.
I can crack that open.
Ooh. Got it. I'd like to experiment like with more Vocaloids and stuff like that. Things that are a little more odd. Alright, so let's see here. Marble plate, disarm.
Trap.
Whoa, there's another trap there. Alright, let's roll it. That was a terrible roll. Oh, man. Can I disarm it? There we go. Now, this guy's also a trap. Disarm.
Nasty surprise. Caution is warranted here.
Uh-oh. Alright. Roll it. Got it. Alright. Oh, we gotta disarm the other statue. I just got it. Okay, now we can pick it up.
The book is locked tight with no visible keyhole. Only
Ooh,
an
look at that.
oval recess in the cover's mouth. You try to examine the book, but the longer you stare, the more those piercing amethyst eyes draw you in.
A cursed book. How obvious. Whoever opens it deserves the fate that befalls them.
Lizelle, you are
Curious.
such a bad character.
Why don't you take a closer look? I'll observe from back here.
Actually, I don't think she's that bad a character. She's not very likable. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Let's put the shadow amethyst on that we picked up in the from the spider boss. Let's see what happens. This is cool. Open the book. Open the book. Gale disapproves.
The pull is irresistible. You feel changed, bettered for having opened it. Suddenly you are capable of anything. Felling mountains, darkening suns, conversing with the dead. Glyphs shift gently before your eyes. Words slip into your mind, onto your lips, forming words you don't understand. And something is trying to reply.
Do the Bard option. Bard option's always good. Purple means evil. It always does.
The glyphs swarm impatiently. The book wants you to turn the page, to delve deeper. It's hungry.
Got it.
The glyphs seem to burn your inner eye. Outraged at
Apparently
your
I can save
denial.
right there.
Within the pages, you feel a feral thrashing. Living magic, driven mad by what it was used for. Necromancy. The magical energies of all living things were stolen, corrupted, and sealed in this vile book. It wants someone to share. in
Ooh,
its
I want to
insanity.
share in its insanity. Saving throw. Turn another page. Ah! Roll again. Should we roll again? All right. Yes. Klatu barada nikto.
The world around you is gone. You can only see those glyphs, only hear those voices.
Hey, kitty, what are you doing up there?
You feel claws moving in the shadows. They pull at you, dragging you closer.
Oh, I gotta roll a 20. Oh man, I wonder what happens if you can like roll all the way through this. Oh, we're not gonna make it. Shoot.
The glyphs scream, searing your mind. You feel lost, tossed in a sea of arcane power you can neither control nor comprehend.
Lizelle and Shadowheart have the best arcs. Both of them are just jerks in the
The
beginning.
book snaps closed. You've seen too much. What profane knowledge is now seared inside of you you should never have known.
I wonder what happens if you can hit all the throws on the book. Gale is inspired. All right. All knowledge is worth having. Let's see. What did I get for that? Whispers of Madness. I'm cursed. All right. Can I pick it up?
You've seen much of the book, but its most powerful secrets are guarded by indecipherable glyphs. Without a key, they may be locked away forever.
I guess I can't take the book. All right. Oh, let's check the cocoons. Check the cocoons. It's kind of funny. Spiders don't make cocoons, so I'm not sure what's going on here. Let's check this desk. Press the plus sign to the right of your toolbar. Speak with the dead. Oh. I got speak with the dead. Rad. Bracers of defense. Oh, that's pretty awesome. We have here wooden desk. Quill on death and resurrection. Oops. There you go. What value is life? Okay. Anything here? The evil eye. Green hags, they're beautiful, they're powerful. Speak not a word against them. Antidote, let's get that. Shame, my dogs are outside, they won't back in. I'll be right back. Okay, I realized I am over my time for today, so we are going to need to see what's here, and then we will pack it up. This was a fun gaming session, though. Fun to look back at political cartoons from 2001. They're very weird. Nothing in the base. Mugwort. A skeleton. Nothing there. Moonhaven logbook. We already saw that. There's the rusted key. Probably opens the door. Right? Which I just picked the lock. Because I'm like that. And there's a lever. Oh. Drow poison. Oh, that's where we were. We came in there. Right? Came in from that direction? No, we came in from the other direction. Where did that lead us? Does this lead us to a different area or the same one? No, it's the same. It leads us back to the same place. All right, so we cleared out the. I think we cleared it all out. I don't think we need the key for the actual book, but I'm going to check it out. Oh, that shows what you got. The book gives you permanent speak with the dead. Rad. I have 2 permanent speak with the dead.
You've seen much of the book, but its most powerful secrets are guarded by indecipherable glyphs. Without a key.
All right. Okay, that's it for today, guys. I am going to quit the game. I will talk to you all next time. If you like the music, head over to the music channel. And that will, yeah. I'll be putting up a lot of stuff there, so we'll close with this. A little bit more of this stuff. Yeah, have a great one. I'll also link my Jinwai book. Thanks for hanging out. Oh, I could pick up the book by right-clicking. Thank you. I'll go do that.